Hello everyone, this is Karina Franklin with the Gilded Hart, and I'm joining you today with some of our deer herd. We have a few of the girls with us, and we're going to be talking about shell gold, which is a pure 24 karat, ultra fine, particulate, real gold paint, and how we take our ultra fine dust that I hand grind just for you and turn it into that paint that is something that we can go ahead and burnish later into a beautiful golden sheen. I hope you can see that. I hope it reflects. There we go. So without further ado, let's get sparkling. Girls have joined us today. We do have a few of them out there. There's Pumpkin and Barbie's laying down, and some of the girls are in the yard. They're all ready to learn about shell gold. Pumpkin loves shell gold. It's one of her favorites. Hi, Pumpkin Pie. Okay, and Barbie's out there. She's ready to go. So, okay, so the girls are with us, and okay, Pumpkin, we're going to learn about shell gold. Yes, you're so pretty. I love you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and force ourselves to take the camera off the deer and go ahead and get started. So I have here, as we talked about earlier, some customer orders and then also some of my shell gold. And my shell gold was in need of a refresh, so I thought, this might be a good time because I do get some questions about shell gold. I've had questions where people have purchased shell gold from other places, but they will come to me and ask me how to take care of it. So I thought I would go over some of those things today and the difference between a tiny drop and a smidge. So we'll go ahead and learn all those fun things and show you some of the things that we have. So when you're working with shell gold, of course, you're going to need a sable brush. Everyone, I usually talk about the Winsor Newton Sable Brushes, Series 7, number 2. I use that a lot in my videos, especially whenever I'm illuminating. And this just happens to be one of my favorites. I just like their brushes. You always need a separate dedicated rinse container. You'll see here that this rinse container also collects any gold that drops out of your brush. So you're able to reclaim this gold and go ahead and use it again for another project. We never want to throw away pure gold. This dappen dish right here is actually an inkwell, but I use it as a dappen dish just for some pure water if I just need to rinse my brush or go ahead and wet the gold a little bit more. Of course, we have a burnisher. I'm going to set the brush down here, and we're going to talk about what to do when the gold starts to look like this. When you start to see your gold, and this is my gold that I use, like I had mentioned, this gold actually is starting to clump and dry out. I've probably had this shell gold for about, I think I made it maybe less than a year ago, but it's starting to dry out a little bit. It is in a violet glass jar, but once it's exposed to air and you're wetting it and different things like that, you'll start to see, the original binder recipe starts to break down and get watered down a little bit, and you'll start to see it clump like this. Or you may notice on your finished project that the gold starts to look dull and flaky. And that's a short indicator that you need a little bit more gum arabic. Now, there is a proprietary recipe in your shell gold orders. This is a customer's order. You can see how nice and smooth and beautiful that is. They're finishing drying down, so you can see how they look in different stages of drying. Okay, and you might be able to see too. I wonder if I can get the light to hit that. You should be able to see, if you put light directly on it, you can almost see that star. It's supposed to wink back at you, with the pure gold. And this is actually the pure platinum shell. I will be making a pure palladium shell as well. Palladium will be a little bit of a brighter, lighter sheen to it. Platinum is beautiful, but it does produce a little bit of a warmer light, so it can look a little bit darker. I should say it reflects a warmer light. Okay, so With that said, how do you go about actually putting more gum arabic in there? Now, there is a proprietary blended recipe that I do use, but you can go ahead and start to add your own gum arabic. You can use powder, or you can use the pieces of gum and go ahead and make your own, water down the gum from the tree that you can get, and it comes in chunks. But I find really that the gum arabic from Winsor & Newton is sufficient. This bottle is starting to get to a point where I would maybe mix it with other things, other pigments, but I would probably, right about at this stage is when I want to go ahead and get a new one for working with my gold. But how much do you use? And some people say, well, I put some in, or I put a drop in, or I put a smidge in. Well, that can mean different things to different people. So this is what I mean when I say a drop. It is very small. And you can see this is just a rounded regular toothpick. I use them all the time. And that's how we're actually going to measure our drops today, because everybody has access to plain rounded, not flat, rounded, pointed toothpicks. So what you want to do is go ahead, and to be able to measure your drop, you're going to dip your toothpick in your gum arabic, bring it up, and let it bead off the end. And if it doesn't bead off the end and drop, which it should have by now, go ahead, dip it a little bit more. Try not to spill anything while we're teaching. Okay, and you should see that one drop, see that? Just one drop at a time. You only need one or two of these drops. And if you find your drop isn't coming off, go ahead and re-dip. Okay, I'll do that. And just like that. That's a tiny drop. And then that way we can all be sure that we're using the same amount. So this would actually be a separate container for you to be able to, maybe you have it in a separate pan, or you can go ahead and add just a couple of small drops. We have a little bit here, so we'll let that fall into our shell gold down in there. But you definitely don't want to overdo the gum arabic. If you feel like there's too much and your shell gold starts to look dull and it doesn't look shiny like this, okay, it should have a pretty good sheen to it. It's, now remember, it's not mica, it is not glitter. This is the real element, ground to between 2 and 10 microns in particulate size, but this is the real element of pure 24 karat gold to 99.999% fine, 5/9 fine. So this will not respond like a mica. Mica and gold are very different. I'll probably make a video on those someday, but do not expect this to look like glitter. It's not glitter, and it's not a luster gold that's sometimes put on cakes and things like that. This is the real metallic element of pure gold. So it does look and respond like pure gold does. And also, of course, the pure platinum. But what we have here is it will dry down, and you can see, if I hit the light correctly, you should be able to see how beautiful and shiny that is. Now this is only one coat of the shell gold. So if you need a little bit of a denser coat, that's okay. Now this is what it looks like when it's not burnished. Hopefully you can see that it's just not as shiny. And I just took my agate burnisher and went ahead and did this on a hard surface, which was actually this right here, this board, but you do it on a hard surface, and that's just one beautiful coat. Look how pretty that is. Doesn't it cover beautifully? That's because of those fine particulates I work so hard to grind down for you. Now this is the gold before it has been burnished. It's a little bit more dull, but that's okay. You can use that in your designs. And this is the gold after, again, one coat and a little bit of a burnish. Yes, you can paint on top of it after it's been burnished. Gold will attract to gold. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful for you today. If you have any questions about your shell gold or any of your gilding adornments, please feel free to let me know. And thank you so much for watching. And it looks like the girls are still with us, and Barbie's definitely out there still listening. And oh, the little, I don't think you can see him, but there's actually a squirrel out there. But yes, so if you have any questions about your shell gold, feel free to let me know. And I hope that you have a beautiful and golden day. Bye-bye.